Hey, everybody. And like always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch Keeping It Real in North Carolina. And I wanted to talk about today briefly the passage of the Road to Affordability Housing Act, the biggest housing act that has been passed literally in Congress and the Senate in decades. Nothing has really happened like this in many, many years, probably since the passage of Dodd-Frank. And that was, gosh, almost 20 years ago. So, this was a great bill. Really, congratulations to National Association of Realtors for their lobbying efforts. Did a really great job in getting this in front of the administration. This bill that was passed was, sadly, it became a little bit political. It was a good bill for Americans. So, congratulations to Americans in general when it comes to making housing not just affordable, but available. And there's a lot of question marks about how that's really going to happen because this bill was chock full of a couple of things that, you kind of got a question about whether the intent to really, really develop affordability and availability is really there because it's loaded with grants. I mean, there's all kinds of grants in there. And obviously, grants are paid for by American taxpayers. I mean, it's not like it's free money, it comes from taxpayers. But so many things in there that are really, really good. Kind of loosening restrictions for FHA requirements, raising the standards for FHA price points, which is good. Easing up some restrictions on manufactured housing, which is really good when it comes to affordable housing, specifically in our state in North Carolina. It really was chock full of some really good stuff. So kudos to the National Association of Realtors for their lobbying efforts. And of course, at every state and local level across the country for being part of that. And it's really good to see that this was a bill that actually found its way to passage because ultimately it will have some impact. A couple of bad points. And let's remember that, impact fees, permitting fees for new construction. Look, those things are going to be passed off to municipalities and counties at the local level. And they are never, ever, ever going to be things that relieve pricing issues. Ultimately, those costs are going to always be passed off to the consumer, which, puts the consumer further away from home buying. But the general intent to ease some affordability and ease some availability is in that bill. But my suggestion, I have two suggestions for the National Association of Realtors. Doubtful that anybody will hear these. Suggestion number one, I'm very proud that this bill got passed. I'm very happy that this bill got passed. But before NAR starts spiking that football, I'd like to see a couple of things happen. This word advocacy is, I'm about to just rip this word out of my Webster's dictionary because I've had it with that word. Can't we just say do good things for consumers? Can't we just say that? Advocacy has been so overused as a catchphrase in in this discussion, not just at the local level, but across the country. Look, we really just need to do good things for consumers, but most importantly, NAR really has to get on a path of doing good things for its members. Okay. Let's maybe advocate a little bit more for the membership. And when I say that, I can think of a little incident that happened, let's call it a date, August 17th, 2024, that did not do one thing to help realtor members advance their business or make their streamlined practices go into effect and make things better for realtor members. It made things much, much worse. It made them much, much more complicated. There's a few realtors that are actually making more money as a result of that August 17th, 2024 decision. But certainly it's made it more complicated for consumers. It's made it more difficult for consumers. It may even be, viewed as keeping consumers further away from home buying. Did not do one thing to help the membership at all. And maybe NAR could maybe think about advocating for their members a little bit more and start doing some nice things for the membership. Second thing, one of the things that I think NAR has fallen miserably flat on, and you can discuss this all you want, okay? The one overwhelming topic of discussion, which is largely in real estate, the third rail when it comes to lobbying efforts from the National Association of Realtors, is not just changes to the capital gains tax rules, but the complete elimination of capital gains tax. I know, so there's a bill before the House right now. It's kind of stuck in Ways and Means. It's really not advancing. It's not going forward. It's not going backwards. Nothing's really happening with it. Where, there is a bill from a representative in New York that wants to increase the capital gains limits, to $500,000 for a single single entity buyers and $1 million for married couples, which would be great. I'm not exactly sure if those figures are accurate. Well, I guess that is the number. But that's a start. It really is a start. But just think of it a little differently. The complete elimination of capital gains tax would be the number one tool to loosen up inventory, set pricing on a supply and demand level that is more attractive for the average buyer or the seller. When we've got sellers sitting on their houses for decades because they literally cannot afford to sell their houses for fear of paying an enormous, overbearing, almost usury based tax on the sale of their home that they've invested in for decades, that's a problem. When we can eliminate the capital gains tax in its entirety, both at the residential level for the homeowner, at the commercial level for the corporate owner, any type of business structure that has a gain tax implication, just think of what that will do to free up the economy. Okay. Just by loosening up those rules at the residential level, there could be an additional 15 to 30% of inventory coming into the market, which automatically, just by the law of supply and demand, would really make inventory a little bit better. Certainly, it would make housing more affordable. Certainly, it'll pull homeowners away that are sitting on their houses and afraid to sell them for fear of the capital gains tax laws going into effect, would make them feel more comfortable about selling their home, moving into a downsized home, maybe moving into assisted living. Some people can't even afford to move into assisted living because they're sitting on this gigantic tax that they just can't afford. After all, as an American homeowner, aren't you already overtaxed by paying property taxes, school taxes, title transfer taxes, sometimes on the buyer, sometimes on the seller? It's just endless where the taxes go. And at the municipal level, fire tax, you could just go on and on and on. The idea of taxing a homeowner on a gain just completely goes against the grain of any capitalistic society. I know this is the third rail for NAR. They don't want to touch this, and I believe that they really should dump everything else they're doing, put every ounce of energy into lobbying for the complete elimination, not the partial elimination, the complete elimination of the capital gains tax. And of course, the reason it's the third rail is that Washington does not want to lose the revenue stream from that tax. All right. So what? Washington's mismanaged money for, centuries. So, what do you guys think? I'd love to hear what you have to say about this topic. I know it's a little hot, a little controversial. Very proud of NAR for the road to affordability. I think that bill was just awesome. And very glad that it was, passed. And I'm really, really happy that, it will eventually, over the span of the next decade or so, will probably impact housing affordability at some level. It's not going to happen overnight. This is going to be something that's probably measured in 10 years. So just curious what your thoughts are. Share in the comments. And by the way, please like and subscribe to Keeping It Real in North Carolina. We would love to hear your opinion. We would love to see a few subscribers jump onto this podcast with us, and wishing you guys a great, great Sunday.